Hello, magical soul, and welcome to the Awake Revolution podcast. I'm Marie Fleming Grant, and in this podcast, I'm going to be sharing insights, perspectives, stories, and tips guiding you to drop the baggage, wake up the real you, and revolutionize it all: how you think, how you feel, and how you create, so that you can be all of who you came here to be. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Welcome to episode 15. And yeah, really welcome back to the podcast, because it has been well over a month, maybe a month and a half since I recorded the last episode, with very good reason. And it's what I'm going to talk to you about today, because I launched my very first book. So today's episode, I thought I would just share with you 8 life lessons, business lessons, creativity lessons, whatever you want to call them, 8 lessons that I learned from my book launch, which was the most thrilling, crazy, nerve-wracking journey that I have been on in a long time. And I learned so much, and it was such an amazing experience, I suppose. So welcome. I hope that you're doing well. I hope everything's going well for you as you're listening. And in case you didn't know, in case you didn't follow any of my other platforms, yes, my book is called Above and Beyond, and it's a human journey of courage, resilience, transformation, magic, and awakening. And it's a nice, big, substantial book. I'm so happy with how it turned out, and it's available on Amazon right now. Pretty much in many, about 12 different countries, I think. So US, UK, Amazon's Australia, Canada, all around. So whatever Amazon you usually use, you can check it out on there. And it's available on paperback and Kindle. So I absolutely love holding a physical book, because I'm such a reader myself. I always have been, and I love holding a book and smelling the book and feeling the pages. So I definitely wanted the physical form. So when it arrived here, I was just so excited. It was like one of the best moments of my life, to receive the book that I'd created. And just enjoy the fact that it had arrived, So that was an amazing experience. So I want to just kind of run through 8 lessons, things that I came across and learned, and maybe it will help you on whichever part of the journey you're on. And maybe they're things you're already familiar with, but they just serve as really powerful reminders. So first of all, number 1 is reverse engineer with a twist. So what I decided to do with this book publication, because I had wanted to write a book for literally my whole entire life, and I realized, of course, when I did write it, that there was an amazing divine timing. It wasn't a book that I could have written any earlier in my life, because I needed the life experiences. But at the same time, if I didn't decide to actually take the action, this year, right now, it could have so easily been something that I put off, right? Left till later in the year, next year, another 5 years. It's so easy for that to happen. So what I did was I decided, and you might have seen if you're on my Facebook or Instagram, that I put a post out, and it was a very intentional post. And I decided that first of all, I decided within myself, I'm going to write this book, and I'm going to do it now. So when I made that decision to really back it up, energetically and in the real sense, practically, I put a post out and I shared it with the world. And the reason I did was because I wanted to kind of give myself a deadline, and also to hold myself really accountable. So I put out to the world, hey everyone, I'm excited to share with you, I'm launching my very first book. I hadn't even fully decided on the title. I just said my very first book. It's coming out in, I think it was 6 weeks. I think I gave myself 6 weeks. Yeah. On the 8th of the 8th. And here you go. And so once it was out there, knowing myself, knowing how I personally work, now this may or may not work for you, so you'll know yourself best. Knowing how I personally work, I knew that when I did that, my ego would not allow me to not follow through. And let's just bring in the ego for a moment because it can really serve us when we use it in this way. I just want to give a little shout out to the ego because we really do talk about it as if it's the worst thing we're trying to get rid of. But the ego can really serve a purpose. As long as it's not running the show of your entire life, your ego's here. And sometimes we can tap into that. So I did that. So I decided that I'm not going to back down if I've put it out there and I've said it in this way and I really mean it and I really want to do this. I will find a way. So reverse engineering really means is when you decide and you set a goal, you already set the outcome and then you work backwards and then you work out, okay, so if that's the goal, what is it that I need to be doing in order to bring that into life? So the way I say it is reverse engineer with a twist is because what I didn't do was maybe the logical way of, okay, if my book is going out on this date, it needs to be done by this draft needs to be done by this date. And then I need to do a certain amount of words every day to create a certain momentum. I actually didn't do that. I let go fully of that whole structure. And I just, with my intention, allowed myself to flow through the process, knowing that if every day I tune in and ask myself what is required and I follow what I'm really being given inside of me, I will somehow take the steps that will lead to this outcome. So that might sound a little nuts. So it's obviously not for everyone maybe, but if that's you, and I'm guessing it is if you're listening to me and you tune into my messages, it's really about following your soul and following what is already true for you. So I did obviously have a deadline when it came to, right, well, I need the first draft to be done by this date, ideally, because I also need time to edit and figure out all the formatting and blah, blah, blah. So I did have, kind of an idea of, okay, it needs to be really done within this time frame, but that's all I did and I let it go. And there was a time when I was getting a little bit concerned about the time, and I was thinking about, do I need to set myself word counts for each day to ensure this is done? And when I tuned in, my team were right there and they were saying, release that. When you get into that energy, they explained to me, you're going to put yourself into contraction. And it's funny, isn't it? Because this is what we're taught in the real world out there. That sounds very sensible, but we're not here for sensible. We're here for soul expansion. So they advised me to just release it and just trust that the words would flow, and they did. And I tell you, this book isn't like a flimsy kind of small book. It's a substantial book. So I'm looking at it even now, thinking, how did I write that much in such a short space of time? And I see why. It was because I just allowed it and I allowed the flow. If I'd have got myself in that, oh my God, word count, I think I'd have blocked it. So I just want to share that with you because it was a kind of a magical process for me. So to reverse engineer with a twist of just letting it go. But the most important thing was deciding, right? Deciding that I was going to do it in the first place and then working backwards. So I love that whole process. Number two, also off the back of this, I learned that I learned and I remembered and I confirmed that time can and will expand. So again, if you've ordered the book or if you've seen the book or if you've seen my live stream with the book, you can see it's a big book. It kind of makes no sense to have written that amount of words in that short space of time. I'm really surprised again, but again, time expands. So when you get into, if you apply this to anything you're doing, when you get into this contraction around, just think of your day even, oh my God, I've got limited hours, I have all these things to do, I'm running out of time, and all of these other ideas, you will find that you absolutely do run out of time. You'll find that you're under time pressure. I used to do this always. I used to live in a sense of pressure and, rush. And it brings me back to a few years ago, good few years ago now, when I learned this concept and I practiced it. So this might be something for you to try. I remember I was running late. I think it was to get to an appointment of some kind. And I was doing the usual thing of shit, I'm late. I'm going to be late because I really was, I'd left later than I needed. And then the train was delayed and the usual bullshit. And I remembered this kind of philosophy around time. And so I just relaxed and I said to myself, okay, if I'm going to be late, me standing on a train platform, contracting and feeling the pressure and looking at the clock and getting stressed really doesn't change anything. In fact, it just makes me feel really bad in my body. So I remembered that and I just let it go, and I kind of made peace with the fact that I'm going to be late. It's not the end of the world. Whatever happens happens, right? And sometimes we think it's the end of the world and it's not. And when I did that, I completely let go of the clock, the watch, and everything. And I just allowed myself to travel. And actually, when I got there, I remember I think I was about 5, maybe 10 minutes late. It somehow, don't ask me how, maybe time expanded, or maybe it was just the perception of time, but somehow it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. And it, time is only like a human construct. And I know that's really annoying sometimes when you're in the real world and you've got things to do, but it really is true, because if you're in a lot of pain, your sense of time will change compared to if you're having the best time of your life. Pain, affects how fast or slow the day feels, right? So when you're enjoying what you're doing, when you're allowing yourself to move through it, time can and will expand. And that is what I put down to having written this massive book in like a crazy short space of time. Because I'm not, I haven't written a lot of books or anything. This is the first book I've ever completed in my life. I've had a couple of half-written books over the years, so it's not like I'm a seasoned writer. So I just want to leave that with you. There's something more expansive and more powerful than we often realize, and I definitely put it to the test during this book launch. So it is an amazing thing. So number 3, your mind will come up with excuses. It will always come up with excuses to move you away from the thing that you want to do, or you said you want to do or not do. And I really got another reminder here on the book kind of creation, that it's a choice to ignore the mind. So even though I'm all into the inner work, emotional release work, I do a lot of deep dive things with clients and even with myself, there is a time sometimes to put the emotion and the thoughts and the perceptions to one side. Yes, you can work on them all day long, you can work on them alongside, but sometimes when you want to get things done, it is an actual choice to just see your mind, understand you've got resistance, understand that you've got some reservations or hang ups or whatever you've got, and just put it to one side and ignore them. Because there were so many nights where I had made momentum on the book, and I just, for whatever reason, had a massive amount of resistance to just sitting in the chair and writing. And I suppose it was more to do with some of the parts of the book where I was writing about my life experiences, which maybe weren't my most favorite times. And the book is an emotionally stirring book, very activating book as well. So, of course, sitting down and writing it means you've got to go into, by the way, it's not traumatizing when you read it, but it is an emotional book. But to write it is another thing. So I had a lot of resistance at certain parts of like, I don't really want to go back into that time. I like the time here. And my mind fed me all sorts of reasons and excuses. But I want to share with you how, because I was focused and I decided this book is going out, I've declared it to the world, it's happening. Making the choice to ignore what the mind was saying, and even making the choice to ignore how I was feeling in that moment, really served me. So it was just putting it to one side, doing what I needed to do. And of course, if later I needed to come back, and I did sometimes, maybe process some emotions that had come up, some deeper levels of things I thought I'd cleared, but maybe they were still hanging around, I absolutely came back and did that. But it's just a permission slip if you need it, a green light to kind of say to yourself, it's okay to put that to one side and just go ahead and do what you do. Because a lot of soul-centered, heart-led people, especially when you're on this journey of transformation and expansion, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes we can maybe spend a lot of time stopping and pausing to do the work and to do the healing, which is all wonderful, but we hold ourselves back with the actual doing, the action taking. But I'm a big believer you get to do both. So yes, heal, release, process what you need, and at the same time, choose to move forward anyway. And you will find that you can really, really get momentum on projects, creative things, or just life in itself, right? It's very, very powerful. Okay, so number 4, courage. Courage is a huge factor. It took me a lot of courage to decide to write the book, Then it took courage to even upload the book to Amazon. I found myself, my heart was beating, and then it took a lot of courage to share the book and actually launch the book. And then when I started thinking about, oh, people are actually going to read this book, I hadn't really given this much thought. I'd been so focused on the creative process. The idea of people reading and judging my words started to trigger me. So, courage is such an important part of whatever we're doing. So what I did was just ground. I continuously had to keep on grounding as I went. So a message to you, if you're doing anything out of your comfort zone, and I hope you are, really give yourself permission to feel scared, feel the fear. Um, I don't mean feel the fear and do it anyway, but I mean feel the fear, take the action, but honor the fact that you're feeling it and feeling scared, and then you can ground. So I just grounded with breath work. I did a lot of kind of EFT, journaling, breathing, and all of that. And I was really consciously doing it every day. I was kind of coaxing and reassuring myself through this process, because as much as I've loved it, it's been quite unsettling and a little scary. And I'm so glad that I've done it. So courage is necessary, and courage doesn't mean we don't get scared. Courage means we feel scared, but we continue anyway, in whichever way that is resonant, right? So it's okay. Let's just make it okay to be scared shitless sometimes, but it doesn't have to hold you back, right? At all. Number 5, there's always a way. This was a big one for me. This is always, I guess, there's always a way has always been a mantra of mine, because I've always believed that if you really want something, there's a way to figure it out. With this one, I really got that practical kind of experience, that even when I was stuck on things and I wasn't sure how to solve the problem, I found that if I just took a step back, and actually when I was in that stuckness of how do I do this? How do I work this next piece out? I don't know what I'm doing. I just used to just take a step away, and I got loads of practice through this process of creating the book, of just stepping away, learning to just let go of the problem, allow the solution to just come in, allow the solution to find me. And hey ho, guess what happens? Suddenly I'm looking something up and I get the right article or the right helpful piece of advice or something, and it helps me. So I really trusted that there's always a way, and it's never failed me, because somehow the path will reveal itself. And it's really, really always about trust, isn't it? I think everything's always about trust. So just reminding you that there is always a way when you feel like you're stuck or cornered. And I guess that's actually the theme of my entire book, because my entire book is about this journey that I was on, going through one thing after another, after another, after another, after another. There's so much in that book, but I guess the theme is that there is always a way. And even though I felt stuck, things moved. Things will always, always change. And I believe that so profoundly in the life experience itself, that there is always a way and you're never stuck, even if you feel that way. So it's a brilliant reminder. Number 6, one of my favorites: don't plan it all out or try and figure it all out in advance. Just begin. So I was speaking to someone recently about this, again, this book writing process, because they were asking me some questions around kind of how I did it, how I formatted it, how I did all these various pieces, like the book cover, everything. And I was explaining, I was also saying to this person that thank God I didn't actually know that all these things had to be done as part of the book process, and maybe how some of those things might have been challenging, because if I'd have known it all before, or if I had even figured it all out and planned it all out, which would have taken me a while, I probably wouldn't have even started the book. And I guarantee I would never have put out a crazy thing like, I'm going to launch it in 6 weeks, because my mind would have got in the way, and I would have definitely have seen that there was so much to do, I can't possibly do it. So what I found is that just by beginning, this is for everything, just by beginning something, never worry about all the pieces. We only ever need the first step. And when we're on the first step, we do as much as we can on that. And then the next step reveals itself. So yeah, I was writing the book, and then partway through the book, the title started to come in and reveal itself. Yes, great. And then it was only then I could start to think about, well, what do I want the book to look like? Imagine trying to design a book cover before that. It wouldn't have worked. And it was only then that one thing led to another, and I was able to just find the perfect book cover, and it was just exactly how I wanted it. And then, the next step revealed itself. And then I realized I needed to do this and this and this. And then I figured out as I went. Again, just the act of starting, it creates this momentum. So think about a snowball. You just pick up a snowball and you pack it in your hand, a little kind of small snowball. You have to have that small snowball to roll it in the snow and make it bigger and bigger and bigger to make the snowman. But you have to start small. So don't be afraid to start. Like, so many people hold themselves back because they don't know all the answers. This comes up all the time when I'm coaching, guiding, mentoring anyone. It's like, how do I do it? It's like, well, you don't need to know step number 22. You just need to know the first step. And then once you've taken that step, honestly, the next one will reveal itself. So we don't have to worry as much as we think. So this is something really, really great to remember. Number 7, the achievement doesn't change the inner you. It doesn't eradicate the issue or the hang up. So sometimes it's really easy to think that once we've achieved XYZ, then we'll be happy. Or once we've done this, then this condition will be met. And I think it's a really good reminder. It was an excellent reminder for myself to realize that even though it was like a lifelong dream, right? It's like the holy grail, the top of the mountain to create and write and publish a book. This is the most amazing thing I've always wanted to do. I've talked about it for years. And there was probably a part of me that thought, when I publish this book, I'll just be this like amazing version of myself, right? Well, I've published the book and I'm here and I'm very happy. I've expanded massively. But I tell you, some of my things, my hang-ups, are still lurking around. And it kind of made me laugh how after I'd experienced a massive release, like I cried. I'm saying I cried real tears when I finished writing that book, and I felt really emotional when the finished product came. So I had this massive elation and really like expansive. But 2 days later, I'm pressing something to go live, I think in my group or something. And suddenly I felt the nerves because I hadn't done it in a while. And I had to catch myself when I was like, holy crap. So you're still going to get nervous even though you've now published a book? And I laughed thinking, yeah, because the achievement, it feels good for a little while, but it wears off really quickly and you're still left with the stuff, right? And it was a really funny reminder to me. So it doesn't eradicate the issue, but it still doesn't mean you can't achieve amazing things. But this is why the inner work always and always continues to be important, because you can have the money, the clients, the goals, the relationship, the weight loss, the location, the whatever it is that you're seeking. But when you get it, yes, it's going to feel amazing, but you're still going to be left in the body with the stuff inside of you. So just a reminder to you, if you're seeking something right now, this is great, but just remember, it's still the ongoing process, which is why we always get to come back to ourselves. And it's kind of funny because as soon as we hit a goal, another one comes in. So we don't need to take this whole thing so seriously, because one goal is replaced with another one. So let's take our goals off the top of the mountain and start to hold them a bit closer. They're not as heavy and big as we think they are, and they'll be replaced by more because that's the human journey. And then finally, number 8 is doing new things will absolutely expand you. So there's no doubt about it that allowing yourself to create and move out of your comfort zone in whichever area is calling you right now will absolutely expand you. It can't not. So my message really is to encourage you in this moment, whatever's coming to you. And even if you don't have anything concrete right now, you might be on a journey of just flowing and seeing what happens. But just know that allowing yourself to dream about real things in your life, business, whatever area, will expand you. It's the staying stagnant and keeping ourselves and holding ourselves back that doesn't allow for growth. So as soon as you're in that kind of journey of, I'm going to just take a step and do something crazy or new, or even choose a different type of way of thinking for the day, will assist and expand you. So that is what I want to share with you. I will wrap it up there because I could go on for another 3 hours, but I want to keep these episodes easy to listen to. So those are my 8 lessons from my book launch. I hope that you received something that you needed from this message. Do drop me a comment and let me know. Any feedback, any thoughts, anything you want to share with me, you know where I am. Losing my voice now. And also just a reminder, yes, if you've read the book, I would love to hear from you. I want to hear from you. If you've ordered it, if you've halfway through it, what are your feelings? What is it stirring up inside of you? It's a very activating book as well. And if you feel so inclined, I would love, and I'll invite you to leave me a review on Amazon, because another thing I learned is the reviews really help to move the algorithms on Amazon so that the book comes up in more people's what would you call it, like Amazon path or however Amazon works. It kind of shows the book to more people as a potential. So I would really love to get the book out as far and wide as possible. So please do leave me rate it as well, and leave a comment on Amazon. That would be most amazing. And let me know what you think. Yeah, I'd love to hear. So I send you lots of love. I hope that you are having an amazing, magical week wherever you are in the world. And I will speak to you again very soon in the next episode, which will be coming to you on a more regular basis from now on as I have more time. So I send you lots of love, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed it. Just to let you know, if you wish to reach out anytime to me with any questions or comments or feedback, I would love to hear. So have a look in the description of this episode and you'll find all the links to any of my groups, my website, my other social media platforms. So feel free to get in touch. Thank you so much again, and I will talk to you very, very soon.